Hi, I'm Vinay Palakonda. I investigate digital experiences to understand why behind UX decisions. And this is one of my UX audit of BookMyShow's experience. In this case study, let us see what was that final weight that stops the user or pauses the user before reaching the home screen, that is to discover movies, events, etc. So the summary of this particular case study is that, so as we all know that Book My Show is built to help users discover relevant experiences in their locality. So however, just as users complete the authentication journey and moves a step closer to the home page, another step appears in between these screens and before the discovery has begun. So this cluster explores how that final interruption impacts user momentum, perceived progress, and the transition to value. So the context of this particular case study is that understanding the location personalization experience that the Book My Show application provides to the users. Before reaching the home experience, which is the first time value for the users, user need to go through some of the pre-authentication flows in which it includes login, OTP verification, promotional screens, and the most important thing is that location permission access screen. As we all know that, so location access helps the platform personalize recommendations before user begins their journey. Mainly, it helps users to discover relevant movies, events, and experiences. Book My Show relies on location context as the foundation for personalization. By understanding where users are, the platforms can surface recommendations that feel more relevant and meaningful and trustable to the users. This creates more tailored discovery experience and helps users what happening around them. So I have chosen three user mental models. As per the new users, understanding what experiences are available nearby and how the platform can help this discover relevant content. People who are reinstalling, returning to familiar experiences and reaching value through already known flows. The people who are switching devices, continuing the experience seamlessly across multiple devices using the same account. So how does success looks like for the users? The application need to understand their intent, how application is helping them to discover what's happening nearby quickly and actively, helping them to find the relevant experiences which are happening in their surroundings. So what would be the momentum that the user in order to involve to complete the flows to fulfill the needs? The user momentum must be he needs to move quickly towards the content and avoid unnecessary delays in between the flows. So what was the final value that the user expects from the application is that, so personalized recommendations immediate discovery helps the users to take immediate actions on their surrounding experiences. The analysis framework. To understand the current experience, I evaluated it through Nelson's 10 heuristic principles and user behavior with emotions and with my decision making skills, and finally the mosquito effect framework, which was coined by me in order to find, investigate, and evaluate the hidden invisible friction which causes uncertainty, low confidence, hesitation, anxiety throughout the user journey. So let us understand how the mosquito effect framework works. It's a simple way to evaluate invisible user experience friction. So the first thing is that how the framework works is on that particular issue or on that particular flow is evaluated and scored around 1 to 5 based upon the severity. So it is evaluated across three dimensions in which the first one is the persistence. How often does the friction appears on the screen or throughout the journey? It is scored on 1 to 5 based upon its severity. And the next dimension is cognitive friction. How much thinking or interpretation is required on that particular issue or on that particular flow? The next dimension is cognitive friction. So, how much thinking or interpretation is required for that particular issue or flow or screen is evaluated. It also scored around 1 to 5 based upon the severity. So let us see how scoring criteria for each individual dimension works. So the first one, persistence. So is it repeated one time? The second one, is it repeated rarely? The third one, is it repeated occasionally? The fourth one, is it repeated frequently? The fifth one, is it repeated throughout the user journey? So the next dimension, cognitive friction. Is that issue a self-explanatory? Is that issue a minor interruption? Is that issue a noticeable thinking? Does that issue needs active reasoning? Or does that issue makes the user feel confused? Based upon these five things, I will be scoring points for the issues and the flows, invisible friction that it causes to users. And the third dimension is journey impact. Currently walk through the flow of users to reach the first value, that is the home screen, to discover and explore the things out there. You need to follow few steps flow in order to reach the home page. The first one is that login sign up, and the second one is that mobile number input with OTP verification. And the third one is that the most important and primary one, the location permission access screen. And next to that, a promotional interstitial where a full screen banner helps the users discover the things even right before reaching the home screen. Final value movement is that reaching the home screen in order to explore and discover the things out there. Current flow insights. So at first glance, each and every step feels promising and journey feels reasonable. Login and OTP verification helps authenticate users. Permission access enables personalized recommendations. Promotional content banners supports content discovery. For now, nothing appears problematic in the isolation flow. Users eventually reach the home screen experience and can begin exploration. Finally, first value movement has been done. Where does the opportunity lies in this particular flow? In order to find that, let's analyze time user's journey in order to find out what are all the goals, actions, thoughts, pain points, and efforts and touch points and opportunities to reaching the value. We can able to see that there is a login and sign up screen, the mobile number input, OTP verification, location selection, and promotional interstitial screen, and final value, the home screen. So let us analyze what are the actions and goals and pain points and efforts that are needed to continue in this flow in order to reach the first value movement. I have taken the first time users persona, in which scenario is reading Book My Show for the first time, to explore movies and maybe book a ticket, new to platform and unsure where to start. It's a simple and guided experiences to feel her get started with confidence. And what might be the expectations that a first time user have is that the home page as soon as quickly as possible, start exploring content immediately, understand what platform offers to them, and finally experience a smooth onboarding process in order to fulfill their needs. Let us break down the experience and the pain points, the efforts that they do to complete this particular flow. As we can able to see that in login and sign up page, users start using the Book My Show, choose a login method. Thought is that we get started, and the pain points are none. The flow is clear, and each and everything seems fine and full. Next thing is selecting a login method, and they will move on to the next screen, which is mobile number input screen, in which they can able to quickly enter their number and in order to get a OTP verification code without any delays or efforts behind the screen. Efficiently completing the mobile number input, user enters into the next screen, which is OTP verification screen. So in this stage, their goal is to complete verification fastly and enter the OTP. And their thought is that almost there. Point is none and the effort is low. Comes the home screen. As they expect to reach the home screen as fast as it can be, because it be in an urgency situations or they're checking out the event timings or show timings and for the weekend. In this hurry, there is a slight pause. Their main goal is that reaching home screen actively. Screen is location selection screen. As we know that location selection access primary source of recommending personalized experiences for the users, recommend experiences which are surrounded in his locality. Let's observe how a user feels and through in this particular location selection screen. Their goal is reach home page. They immediately allow or select city. Thought is let me complete this and continue. So their pain point is that system required data collection step between login completion and discovery, some sort of a stop or a pause in between the flow in order to reach the value. Effort is medium. So there is a sudden strike in their head that they need to complete some and they need to complete one more step in order to reach the discovery and to explore the things out there. Effect here is that the motion and momentum is slightly paused over in this particular screen, and opportunity we can able to see here experience is slightly paused. We need to require an additional step. What are the thoughts that might be running inside the user's mind is that, so after a quick pause, let me complete this location selection screen immediately. I just want to go onto the home screen as soon as possible and explore the things out there. After giving the location access permission, and they will be moved on to the promotional interstitial screen, particular screen, the user can able to feel the discovery has already been started. If the user want to discover something related to that particular promotional banner, directly tap the book ticket CTA which was directly placed under the promotional banner, and directly move on to the flow of that particular booking process. Finally, if he don't want to do, and he can able to tap on the dismiss button and move on to the home screen directly. So finally, he is highly motivated that he reached the home screen in order to explore and discover the things out there. One of the opportunities that I have found is that I got a pause in between the pre-authentication journey. In order to reach the home page, there is a slight pause and user shift which we can able to observe due to a quick location setup from the user, and it stopped and paused the user momentum in order to reach the home screen value. So the insights from this particular case study journey is that, so the opportunity here is that, so user can able to quickly give the permission access to the application, but there is a slight pause in between the discovery and the pre-authentication journey. Key insights that are, the final insight is that, so a journey that builds momentum before pausing. So as we can see that before discovery begins, the journey introduces one final requirement through location permission. While the step supports personalization, it momentarily pauses the transition from setup to exploration. Opportunity is not the step itself, but when it appears in the journey. So the key insight from this particular customer journey, is that discovery begins only after authentication, onboarding, and promotions and personalizations are when personalizations are completed, creating an opportunity to bring value even more closer to the user intent. So let us now understand how the competitors' applications providing a seamless journey in order to collect the personalizations with effective flows in order to reach the value. So to understand how different platforms balance personalization and discovery, I analyzed both direct and indirect competitors. The focus was not on interface patterns, but on how users reach relevant content while the platform gathers the context needed for the personalization. I have investigated and studied how the platforms like District by Zomato, and Ubers to balance the personalization and discovering the home screen experience. How these flows of District by Zomato, and finally the Uber providing a seamless journey in order to collecting the personalized information from the users in order to effectively reaching the home screen, which is the first time value for the users. After investigating and detailedly studying the flows of these particular applications, so the key observations that I got is that while the approaches varied across products, the strongest experiences helped users move closer to relevant content before introducing additional requirements. The key insight is that was not whether the platform used personalization, but when they introduce it in the journey. So let us currently break down the experience of the BookMyShows. So the customer journey map and the competitor analysis revealed an opportunity around when personalization is introduced in the experience. To understand this further, I evaluated the current flow through heuristic analysis and experience breakdown. So as we know that after OTP verification screen, there is a slight pause in which the system collects the location permission access from the user. So after giving the location permission access to the system, so the user can able to move on to the next screen, which is promotional interstitial. The mosquito which was found out here is that delayed personalization. So the mosquito is nothing but the invisible friction which acts as hesitation, anxiety, uncertainty, low confidence, and strongly which interrupts the user feelings, made them feel helpless in this kind of situations. There is a mosquito found where in between this pre-authentication and journey to reach the value, so a delayed personalization. The platform begins collecting location context only after user completes the authentication journey, where it impacts the flexibility and efficiency of use. So the information required for personalization is collected later in the journey by delaying access to relevant content faster. So let us break down the current situation, the current experience using the mosquito effect breakdown framework. Using mosquito effect framework, I evaluated the subtle friction points, influence users' effort, momentum, and journey progression. On the analysis, I have rated the persistence, the number of frequent times that this kind of issues will be faced by the users is around 2 on 5, and the cognitive friction and what was what is the noticeable thinking that this particular situations need to faced by the users is 2, and the journey impact is the 3. By comparing all these scores on 15, the sum of these entire things is that 7 on 15. So in order to calculate the severity score of this particular experience, so I have converted the raw score of 15, which is divided by 1.5, and made it round to 10. The final score obtained is that 4.7, and it is a noticeable buzz in which the user gets affected with user momentum, and there is a slight pause in between the journey in order to reach the home screen, which is the first value for the user. So the key insight from this mosquito effect breakdown is that the issue does not interrupt the task completion, but it delays the moment users can begin exploration the platform. What the score reveals is that the user understands the purpose of this particular screen and continue progressing through the journey. However, the placement of the personalization creates a small pause between user intent and the discovery. So according to the current situation and the experience faced by the user, so the assumptions on the user behavior and emotional analysis could be like question that was running inside the user head might be, so yeah, I have finally completed the OTP verification. Wait, so there is another step which is required, my location permission access, in order to continue the journey of reaching the value. The question might be that, so the OTP verification is completed. So wait, so there is another step in which the system requires my location permission access and location permission access. So let me complete this step and proceed to the next step in order to reach the in order to reach the in order to reach the value as fast as it can be. So the user emotions, so the assumptions on user emotions can be, it's a mild surprise, reduced momentum, and continued commitment. So and the behavior might be continues despite the interruption, completes the additional step to reach the content, to discover the things out there. So finally, the code design challenge is very clear. The challenge was not helping users complete the journey. Users successfully progressed through each step and understood its purpose behind every screen. The challenge was deciding when discovery should begin. By placing personalization at the final stage of the journey, users were required to complete every setup activity before experience the platform's core value. This is the redesigned experience in which the location permission access personalized experience starts right from first interaction. This is the redesigned experience which was which makes the user feel more confident in order to reach the value. So the first screen would be personalized recommendations begin from the very first interaction, where the system takes the user location right in the first step of the journey, and next he he actively proceed on to the login page where he chooses the best relevant login method that he can able to move on and continue with OTP verification screen, and later on the promotional interstitial screen, which is the full screen banner, which helps the user to make to make the discovery process starts from right here. And finally he reaches the home screen experience to discover the things out there effectively. The design principles followed right over here is that prioritizing discovery step every step should help users move closer to exploring relevant content effectively. And main priority, discovery first. Discovery should remain the primary focus on the onboarding journey. And by respecting user momentum, avoid interruptions that appears just before users reach their intended destinations. So the experience which was before and after is like, so before, location permission appeared just before discovery. Location permission is introduced at the start of the journey. Personalization begins after authentication and onboarding. Personalization begins before authentication. Discovery started only after all setup activities were completed. Discovery is prepared from the moment user enters the experience. Users encountered one final requirement before reaching the home screen experience in order to fulfill the needs and experience the value, to discover the things which are surrounding which are surrounded near to him. Users move towards home experience without a late stage interruption. So the final outcomes are that personalization starts earlier, faster path to discovery, improved journey flow. So the key learnings that I have got from this particular case study is that the challenge was not the personalization setup itself, but so when it was appeared in the path of the journey, small changes in sequencing can significantly influence how quickly user experience the value. In the next case study, we're going to see how user expectations doesn't match with the system's actions. So thank you for your time. This is Vinay Palkonda. Meet you in the next case study.